Today we are looking at the new Dungeons & Dragons Heroes of the Borderlands starter set, and I will teach you how to play Dungeons & Dragons on Dungeon Craft. Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor DM, and this channel is about Dungeons & Dragons and other tabletop role-playing games.
And I'm Deathbringer. Like, subscribe, and sign up for the Deathbringer RPG newsletter.
Today we're looking at the new Dungeons & Dragons Heroes of the Borderlands starter set, and this video will serve as both a review and a tutorial. If you've never played Dungeons & Dragons, this is where you want to start. Full disclosure, I did not receive a review copy and have received no remuneration for this review. Dungeons & Dragons is a cooperative role-playing game for 3 to 5 players ages 12 and up. A session will take a minimum of 45 minutes. The box is made from sturdy, reinforced cardboard and heavy, containing a formidable 2 to 3 pounds of books and cardboard tokens. Let's check it out. Inside we have 4 booklets, 10 cave maps, and 4 sample characters: fighter, wizard, cleric, rogue, each with multiple cards with stats adjusted for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level, with all the paperwork done for you. Then there are the character tokens, monster tokens, power and treasure tokens, a combat tracker, monster stat cards for every monster you can encounter, NPC cards, item cards, background cards, species cards, spell, and magic item cards. And some really nice handouts of letters and pictures of what's for sale at the provisioner and the trader, a list of sacred services from the temple, and a menu for the Drunken Dragon Tavern, all really cool. And of course, a set of polyhedral dice that includes not 1 but 2 of the all-important 20-sided dice. The play guide teaches you how to play and walks you through the core mechanics. A nice sidebar acknowledges the original Keep on the Borderlands module designed by D&D's creator Gary Gygax, and the contributions of Mike Carr, Tom Aldvey, Frank Menser, and other OG luminaries. It's nice to see Wizards of the Coast honoring the founders of the game. There is a brief example of play, how to read the background, species, equipment, spell, and character cards. If you want to know what playing Dungeons & Dragons looks like, I recommend watching any live play show, the biggest of which are Critical Role and Dimension 20. Watch them for about 10 minutes and you will grasp the central concepts. 2 to 4 players play characters like warriors, wizards, and thieves, and the Dungeon Master acts as a combination of narrator and referee, describing the world and situations and arbitrating the rules. As the characters defeat monsters and win treasure, they accumulate experience points and advance in level. When a character levels up, they gain more hit points and powers. Don't be intimidated at the prospect of being a dungeon master. It's actually the most fun role of the game. The players often have to wait their turn, but the dungeon master is always involved, listening to what the players are saying and reacting to that. And the term dungeon master is a bit of a misnomer. You don't have to have a lot of experience with the game or mastery of the rules. Just a general working knowledge, especially if your players have never played before. I'll show you how to play using the Level 1 Fighter character sheet. Each character is defined by 6 ability scores that cover physical and mental attributes: strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. The higher the bonus, the better you are. For veterans, the derivative 3 to 18 scores are not used, just the bonuses and penalties, and I think that's a good thing. Our fighter's highest ability score is strength, which gives them a bonus to lifting objects, breaking down doors, and yes, fighting. When the player decides to use an act of brute force, like chopping a goblin in half, the DM calls for a strength roll. The player rolls the 20-sided die, known as the D20, adds their strength bonus, and attempts to roll equal to or higher than the target number set by the DM. For example, the DM might rule the player needs an 11 or better to open a stuck door. In this case, the player rolled a 9, adds their +3 strength for a total of 12, exceeding the target number of 11, and the attempt to open the door is successful. Monsters come with predetermined target numbers called armor class. Players need a roll of 8 or better to hit the zombie. These ability scores cover every situation a player might attempt. Have you been poisoned? Roll the D20 and add your constitution. Do you want to shoot a hobgoblin with an arrow? Add dexterity. Decipher a code? Add intelligence. Resist spells or search for secret doors? Add wisdom. Flirt with the barmaid. Riz her up with your charisma. The DM will tell you what you need to roll and when you need to roll it and how easy or difficult the task is. The DM may grant advantage or disadvantage depending on the circumstances. Did you take the goblin by surprise? The DM might grant you advantage. Roll 2d20 and take the higher number. Does the goblin have cover behind a tree? The DM can declare you have disadvantage. You roll 2d20 and take the lower result. Combat is divided into rounds. In a round, everyone, all the players and the dungeon master, get to take their turns with the DM rolling on behalf of the monsters. In a round, a character can take one action and, in some circumstances, a bonus action. If a player rolls higher than the monster's armor class, they roll damage dice. The result is then subtracted from the monster's hit points. Our zombie has 15 hit points. If a character causes 7 hit points, the zombie has 8 remaining hit points. And when the zombie reaches 0 hit points, it's dead. Although zombies are already technically dead, but now he's dead and no longer a threat. Player characters also have hit points. When a player character is reduced to 0 hit points or less, they are dying and have to make a sequence of death saves, which is a slow, overly complicated procedure. My house rule is you roll a d20 and add your constitution. If you roll an 11 or better, you're knocked unconscious and get up 1 round later with 1 hit point. That way you can still participate in the combat. If you fail to roll an 11, you're dead, and you play a new character with the exact same stats and equipment as your old character, and DMs introduce that character as soon as possible. No player should sit out of the game more than 10 minutes. The rest of the booklet covers situations that may occur in the game, as well as how spells work. Spells are presented on these excellent spell cards, which describe exactly what the spell does. Wizards have a limited number of spells they can cast. When they run out of spells, they need to rest and recharge. Armor and weapons are also presented on cards, and I think that's a good thing, especially for younger players, because they're less likely to forget they have an item or a spell if they have a card. Characters start out at armor class 11, so players, get yourself some armor as soon as possible and raise up that armor class and make yourself harder to hit. And that's really the whole game in a nutshell.
Click like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Thank you.
If you've never Dungeon Mastered before, it can be intimidating. But you really just have to listen to what the players say, decide if what they are attempting is possible, and assign a difficulty rating. If the players want to do something that you perceive to be illogical, like lift a boulder, you're perfectly within your rights to say, no, it's too heavy, you can't do that. But if an action is possible, you have to decide the target number. My simple guideline for doing this is, if a task is easy, the player has to roll an 8 or better. If it's medium, 50-50, like it could go either way, it's an 11 or better. And if it's a difficult task, it's 15 or better. I would caution about target numbers over 15 at low levels. At 16, the player only has a 25% chance of success. That means 3 out of 4 rolls are going to be a failure, and that can be very frustrating. And target numbers of 5 or less are really a waste of time. You ought to consider just hand-waving it and say the character succeeded. And that's why dungeon mastering is a fine art. Unlike a traditional board game, the rules of Dungeons & Dragons are not hard and fast. They are squishy. The game master may ignore a rule or suspend a rule, even overrule the written rules if they think that something doesn't make sense. For example, if you as dungeon master perceive a spell or a magic item to be too powerful, it's within your rights to remove it from the spell deck. In the world of Dungeons & Dragons, that's totally legit. Let's take a look at the Keep on the Borderlands. The Keep is a home base where characters can buy equipment and rest safely between adventures. It includes a nice 3D map, descriptions and locations of who lives there, and a number of quests. The Keep is run by the Castellan and his sorceress assistant Elandra, who can give them help and magic items. Where have I heard this idea before? Oh yeah, I included a similar character in my adaptation of the Keep on the Borderlands 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not saying they copied it from my videos, but I will say they seem to have watched a lot of Dungeon Craft. And there'll be a link to those videos at the end of this one if you're interested. The Wilderness Adventure booklet describes the wilderness around the Keep. Players can encounter bandits, cultists, lizard people, and more. The Caves of Chaos adventure booklet describes a 10-cave network of dungeons for the players to explore. You get an excellent overview map and 10 maps depicting each cave. In the caves, the players will find all sorts of denizens like kobolds, goblins, ogres, hobgoblins, owlbears, a gelatinous cube, and an evil cleric. The maps and illustrations are excellent and show the contents of the room, which allows them to keep the text descriptions to a minimum. This lean, mean 27-page booklet has no fluff. The monster stats are all on the cards. And this booklet contains enough material for at least 10 sessions of D&D. Now, if you have players who are itching to play and they just want to get to the dungeon, I recommend you skip the keep and the wilderness and place them right inside the entrance of Cave A, the Kobold lair, because that's the easiest. Then you could begin the next session at the keep and introduce the NPCs later. The cards are great. I'm a teacher. I love manipulatives. I love the spell and equipment cards. I love the monster cards. I love the tokens depicting the monsters. Kids will have a lot of fun with this. I also appreciate the pre-generated character sheets, which are updated for levels 1 to 3. When you level up, you just flip the card and all the paperwork is done for you. The box is expensive at over $50, but it contains a lot of stuff. The two previous D&D starter sets were $25, but mostly contained empty box, so it's a big improvement. These are changes which I have been recommending for years on this channel, and finally, Wizards of the Coast listened. Criticisms. The orcs that used to be in caves B and C have been replaced, and while the replacements are adequate, orcs are a classic fantasy monster, and they would have been fun to include here. I think the cover art is adequate. It's kind of cluttered, and that dragon is scrawny. It's not as dramatic or iconic as Larry Elmore's 1983 cover. And the signs feature this weird, cutesy, prancing baby goat. Why does it not feature a dragon? I would have gone with a reprint of the classic Larry Elmore dragon, and it would have sold like gangbusters just out of nostalgia, and I think 12-year-olds would still think this looks cool. That said, this D&D starter set is quite good and perfect for kids and teens who have never played the game before. It contains enough material for a minimum of 15 1 to 2 hour sessions and is the perfect place to start. If you or your kids or friends really enjoy playing the game, you can graduate to the D&D core rule books, which offer expanded classes and rules for 4th level and beyond. Or look into alternative games like Pathfinder, Castles and Crusades, and Shadow Dark, which are all D&D in terms of mechanics with just slightly different rules. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on how to play Dungeons & Dragons, consider subscribing to my Patreon. Patrons get access to my DM's notebook, demonstrations, live plays, monthly podcasts, and years of bonus content. You'll also find a link to the Deathbringer newsletter. Deathbringer is my own faster, more swords and sorcery version of D&D, and crowdfunding starts next spring. Thanks for spending this time with me, and as always, may all your rolls be 20s.
Deathbringer here. What are you waiting for? Do what the nerd says and click on these videos for more Keep on the Borderlands and Caves of Chaos.